You're watching my story about how I became legally blind. My name is Edgar Ortega, handsome blind guy, helping you develop positive habits of mind so that you can live up to your fullest potential despite the difficulties that we might encounter in life. Now, there's lots of YouTubers out there, lots of blind YouTubers, and I'll be no exception unless you guys put out at least one video talking about how you lost your vision, right? Your story, how you went blind. And that's what I'll be doing here in this video today. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. It really helps me out. Hit the notification bell, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment, and we'll do a question for every video, hopefully. Today's question that I'll ask is, what's your biggest struggle that you're going through at this point in your life's journey? Now, it doesn't have to be anything super tragic, but if you are going through it, let me know. It helps other people to see that people are going through different things, and so they don't feel as alone. But also, it could just be that things are going all right, but you're struggling with achieving some of your goals. Maybe you're in school, you're having trouble with a certain class. Whatever it may be, you have a biggest struggle at this point in your life. So let me know. What is the biggest struggle that you are dealing with in your life at this point in your life? Let me know in the comments. All right, so my story, how I lost my vision, how I became legally blind. I wish I had some grand, exciting story to tell you that I was somehow in a factory. I got chased into a factory and then radioactive sludge poured into my eyes and I acquired these superpowers despite being blind now. But unfortunately, that's not what happened to me. My story is a lot less exciting. My story has to do with an inherited disease that I acquired. My mom has the same disease, retinitis pigmentosa, RP for short, and one of my brothers has it, and we're each at different stages in the development of the disease as it progresses through each of us. My mom can only see light and shadow at this point, and I'm progressing towards that. My brother sees better than I do. So obviously over time, around midlife is when it seems to be starting for me. Now, I was first diagnosed when I was a young teenager. And when I was at the doctor, he's looking at my eyes and he took some tests and then he looked a little harder and he took some more tests and then he took a look again and then he asked my mom if anyone in my family have ever been diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa. It's a retinal disease. And my mom said yes, and she admitted that she had the condition. And I didn't know anything about it. I was surprised by it. I knew she had some poor eyesight, but as it turned out, she has RP, and I inherited it from her. Retinitis pigmentosa, the cells in the back of my retina essentially are dying off prematurely. They go through what's called premature apoptosis, and as the cells die off, they leave behind this black pigment around the retina. So if you can imagine a nice pink salmon to simulate the color of the retina, imagine that color being blotched with a bunch of black spots from all this pigment that's left behind from the cells dying off. That's what my retina looks like, and it affects the peripheral vision first, and then people that first see the disease manifest in them, they have really poor night vision. And so for the longest time, I had really bad night vision. I had trouble in dim lighting and some peripheral issues. But for the most part, I could see pretty good. But when I was diagnosed, I was a young teenager, like I said, but I remembered the things made sense then. Because I remember being a young a young kid going trick-or-treating. I don't think I trick-or-treated as a teenager, but as a young kid, going with friends and their parents, all the kids would run from house to house, getting the candy, going trick-or-treating. But I was a lot slower, and I was amazed at how fast everybody ran from yard to yard and door to door. I was in the very back of the group, so all the other kids were running, and I was having trouble with any obstacles that were in the way. Of course, we trick-or-treat at night, so dim lighting, right? That was an issue. And by the time everybody got their candy, I was the last one running up to the door to get my candy. But I got my candy. It worked out. So that was all cool and everything. But that sort of thing made sense when I was diagnosed. And for the most part, most of my life was relatively normal. I had that dim lighting issue, and I didn't have very good peripheral vision. But it was stable for most of my life. It wasn't until I was about 38 years old, I'm 42, going on 43 now, that my vision started to take a nosedive really fast. It started to deteriorate. The disease began to accelerate, and more of my cells began dying off. So I started getting more blind spots. worse peripheral vision, and to the point where I was declared legally blind. Now, where I am now, if I could have the vision back that I had when I was first declared legally blind, that would be awesome, right? Because since then, my vision has continued to deteriorate, and I could see better when I was first diagnosed. So if I could have that vision back, hey, that'd be awesome, because since then it's gotten a lot worse. Right now, what I do see, people ask, what can you see, right? And so it's a lot like looking through kind of fogged up glasses. Like if you got out of the shower and you put on some reading glasses and your glasses started to fog up, you know, it's really hard to see. And also I can't see any detail. I see mostly light and dark contrast, right? Where those contrasts, I can see that, and a little bit of detail. I still see a little bit of detail. And the way mine progressed was it ended up started taking my central vision sooner than we thought. And so those are the rods and cones that deal with the cells in my retina, rather, that deal with detail and color. And I first started losing my the colors. I remember losing the color green. That was my favorite color. I have some mats that I train on in the garage, and they were this beautiful Gracie green color, and I used to like the color. Green was my favorite color. And then one day I was looking at the mats, which are green, like I said, and I couldn't see the green. The mats looked gray to me, and that was really weird. And so I looked outside at the trees. There's lots of trees and lawns around here. And so I looked at those, and those looked rather faded, right? And the sky was looking kind of gray. And I went on Google on my phone, and I typed green, right? Because you go in image searches, it'll just pull up some boxes that are green colors, different shades. And all the boxes were gray. It was really strange. And I was kind of sad. I kind of mourned the loss of seeing my favorite color, right? So I can't see green anymore, and I can't really see much any colors except for red. For whatever reason, I can still see the color red. You know that when you turn on Netflix, that big Netflix logo comes on, bright red. That's kind of exciting for me because I see things generally in monochrome, black and white, if you will, grays, different tones. But I can still see bright red if it's the right color. And so I see everything in black and white except for red. So when that Netflix logo pops on, makes that sound, ba-dong, right? I can see that red color. And it's a lot like if you've seen the movie Schindler's List, that whole movie's in black and white except for, I think it's a coat that a little girl wears or a child wears. And there's a reason for that in the movie. So the whole movie's in black and white except for that child's coat, which is bright red. And that's kind of how I see things, right? So I'll be out and everything's kind of black and white, and then a red car will go by. So it's black and white, and then I see the red car. So it's a really interesting experience. I can't see it very well, but I can tell that the color is there. I can't look at my phone and read my text anymore, right? Up until recently, I could, with some struggling, I could read my text messages with a lot of strain, but now I can barely do that. The best I can do is take a screenshot, go to my pictures, and zoom in really big, and then read one word at a time, but that's getting to be a chore. And so at this point, I'm at the point where I have to learn assistive technology. Every iPhone, a lot of other phones come with this assistive technology. I think on iPhone it's called VoiceOver, where it's a whole new way of using it. It kind of tells you everything that's on the screen, and there's different gestures for it. I'm learning that now, and that's part of the process of adapting. A lot of blind YouTubers, they're like, hey, check it out. I'm blind, but this is how I use my phone. This is how I make comments. This is how I use the computer, whatever it might be. You got it all figured out. I'm in the process of learning it because I'm gradually losing my vision little by little, and so I really have to hunker down now and learn these technologies so that I can be as independent as possible, right? If you're a man and you go through something like this where you're going to have to depend a little more on people, it's quite a hit to the ego. And so I want to be as independent as possible, so I'm learning the skills. I'm signed up at the Blind Center here in Stockton, take classes, learn Braille, all that stuff. I actually like to read a lot. I currently read a lot, and I like to read actual books. Now, since I can't actually read actual books, not much for audiobooks for whatever reason, because I can't hold it or whatever. I like the smell of books. If there's a if there's a candle that anybody makes that's book scented, then hey, let me know. I'll totally buy that, and the house will smell like books. It does anyway sometimes because I have a lot of books. But the way I read books is I go out in the store, I buy books, and then I put them under a reader that I have here in this room actually. And anything I put under it, it'll I can magnify it, I could change the colors, and I can tell it to read it to me. And so I put books on there, turn the page, it reads the page, I turn it, it reads me that page. So, and I can actually read now I can listen to the read back at a really fast pace. So in that sense, I do have a superpower. I do have other superpowers I'll tell you about in another video. But for right now, I did get that superpower. I can actually read books faster now using this assistive technology than I could when I could see the books and read them on my own. So that's a positive. I talk about looking on the bright side of things and what I can do instead of focusing on what I can't. And that's one cool thing. So I like to read a lot of books. But anyway, that's what I got. That's my story. Retinitis pigmentosa. I think it affects 1 in 40,000 or so people. And if the number's wrong, I'm sure somebody will tell me. But I won the lottery on that one. So yay, lucky me. And I'm well aware that no person is an island. So anything you go through, other people around you are going through it with you in a certain way. And just like you can think of a pond where you throw a pebble in and it makes these concentric rings. Now the rings on the outside, on the farthest part of that, are affected the less, right? They just kind of little impact, right? But the rings immediately around the center are affected the most. They have the greatest impact on whatever goes on. And so those are closest to me are the ones who are affected most by it. Obviously, if you have a spouse, if you have a parent, a close family member who goes through anything, any struggle like this, blindness, whatever it might be, it's going to affect them the most. And it can be hard on them too. And so I want to do the best I can to develop the skills I need to become as independent as possible, and so that the help that I do need is minimal. I'm learning also to be an advocate for myself. I get around when I'm not in the house. I use a cane, a white cane. Around the house, I'm okay because I kind of have the whole place memorized. But when I go outside a store, anywhere new, it's quite a chore. It's quite a thing to learn. 1, to get around town when you can't see, and 2, to go to the store and just to pay for things. It's a whole different ball game. It's a whole new stressor, right? And I'm learning it. I'm in that process right now. I haven't got it all figured out. That's where I am. I'm being honest about my position in this journey of blindness, of going through it. That's where I am. So if you have any questions for me about what it's like going through vision loss, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, go ahead and answer the question. I think it was, let me know what you're dealing with, what your biggest struggle is at this point in your life. Otherwise, I appreciate you watching. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel. It really helps me out. Interact with the video, share this video, and watch for future videos. Make sure you hit that notification bell. I'm Edgar Ortega, handsome blind guy. Thanks for watching.